My name is Albert Kane, 63, carpenter out of Stark County, Ohio. I build straight lines and quiet rooms, kitchen cabinets that close with a hush, stair rails that don't wobble. 39 years on the job taught me one rule: measure twice, cut once. When my daughter Claire died in a wreck 8 years ago, that rule was all I had left. I took the life insurance and set it aside for her girl, Emily. I opened a custodial account and wrote in my ledger, "For Emily's college. Do not touch." Every month I deposited what I could. By spring this year, it stood at $120,000. Not a fortune, but a promise. Emily grew up in my shop, sweeping sawdust, humming under her breath. These days, she's 24, married to a fast-talking young attorney named Ryan Miller. I never cared for his grin. Too white, too quick. But I kept my peace. A promise is a promise, and the fund was for her, not him. Last Tuesday, after sanding a set of maple drawers, I checked my email and froze. Subject line: "Thank you for choosing Kane Trust Scholarship Growth Portfolio." Inside, a cheerful note about reallocating assets for market performance, with a link to a dashboard I'd never seen. The message used my name, my address, and the fund's last known balance. At the bottom, "If you did not authorize this change, contact your representative." I don't use dashboards, I use paper. I pulled my ledger, turned to the tab marked Emily, and ran my finger down the last 3 entries. Deposit, deposit, deposit. No transfers, no trades. I dialed the bank. "Community First, this is Martha," a voice I've known 20 years. "Martha, it's Al Kane. Did someone move my granddaughter's college fund?" Keys clicked. Silence stretched. "Mr. Kane," she said carefully, "the account shows a transition to a managed portfolio under the Kane Education Trust. It lists a co-trustee." "I don't have a co-trustee," I said. Another pause. "It says you do now." I swallowed. "Name?" She exhaled. "Ryan Miller. And sir, the transfer executed yesterday morning." I stared at the wall clock above the drill press. Yesterday morning I'd been at the lumber yard, not a bank. "There should be no transfer without me." "The paperwork indicates your authorization," Martha said, gentler now. "Digital proxy signature on file." Digital proxy. That might as well have been Martian. I set the phone down and opened the safe beneath my bench. The original account documents were there. Ink signatures, not pixels. On the top sheet I'd written in my block hand, "No changes without Albert present." If a change had happened, it happened without me. Martha's voice returned in my ear, lower than before. "Mr. Kane, the note on your profile says all transfers may be initiated by the co-trustee. It shows Ryan Miller already authorized the move." By the next morning, I was parked outside Community First Bank before the doors even unlocked. Ryan's silver sedan was already there, angled across 2 spots like he owned the place. He stepped out, straightening his tie, flashing that courtroom smile. "Morning, Al. Thought I'd meet you here. Keep things simple." I stared at him. Simple would have been you asking before touching my money. He laughed softly. "Our money, remember? The Kane Education Trust has 2 trustees now. You signed the update months ago." "I signed nothing." He shrugged. "Digital age, Al. Maybe you clicked something and forgot. Happens." Then he leaned in, dropping his voice. "Look, Emily's future is safe. I just moved the fund to a higher return investment. You'll thank me later." Inside, the bank smelled of coffee and toner. Martha glanced between us, uneasy. "Mr. Kane," she began, "Mr. Miller presented power of attorney documents last week. Everything looked in order. Your name, your digital signature." "My what?" I cut in. Ryan laid a hand on my shoulder. Let's not make a scene, huh? Folks get nervous when voices rise. I brushed him off. Show me the form. Martha printed it, slid it across the counter. There it was. My name, same capital A, same loop on the K. But the lines were wrong, rushed, like someone trying too hard. Stamped with yesterday's date, notarized under a branch I'd never visited. That's forgery, I said. Ryan grinned like he was humoring a child. Albert, you're not thinking clearly. Emily and I have this handled. You can't cling to the past forever. Every word felt like sandpaper. I turned to Martha. Freeze the account. Her eyes darted to Ryan, then back to me. Sir, I can't. The co-trustee has equal rights. Ryan whispered, still smiling. You don't want to embarrass yourself, old man. Just let me manage it. Old man, I said quietly, you stole from a dead woman's promise. He blinked, jaw tightening. Watch your words. I leaned close enough to smell his cologne. I am. Every one of them. He patted my arm like I'd lost my grip on reality. Take your meds, Al. Stress isn't good for you. I grabbed the papers, folded them clean, and walked out before my anger did the talking. Through the glass, I saw him smirk at Martha as if he'd just won something. Outside, the wind off Main Street felt colder than January. I'd been called many things in my life. Stubborn, picky, slow, but never crazy. Until that morning. As Albert reaches his truck, his phone buzzes. A message from Emily. Grandpa, please don't fight Ryan on this. He's only protecting what's left of Mom's money. I sat in my truck for a long time, reading that text again and again. Protecting what's left of Mom's money. Those words didn't sound like Emily. They sounded rehearsed, polished by someone who'd spent too much time in law school and not enough time learning decency. That night I drove to their house. The porch light was on, the curtains drawn. When Emily opened the door, her smile was nervous and thin. Grandpa, you shouldn't be driving at night, she said. Ryan said you were upset. Upset? I handed her the folded papers. These say you let him steal what I built for you. Her eyes flicked to the documents and then away. He didn't steal anything. He just moved it into a safer fund. I didn't build that account for him to play hedge fund hero. It was for your tuition, your life, your mother's wish. Her voice rose. And I'm still her daughter. You think I'd let someone hurt her memory? I stared at her a long time. You already have. Behind her, Ryan appeared in the hallway, tie loosened, glass of wine in hand. Easy, Al, he said smoothly. No need to shout. We can handle this like adults. I am an adult, I said. You're a thief in a suit. He chuckled. You keep calling me that, and I'll have to file for defamation. Maybe we should get a cognitive evaluation first. Prove you're competent. Emily winced. Ryan, no, I said, stepping closer. Let him talk. Let's hear how he plans to call me senile before he cashes my account. He sipped his wine and looked me dead in the eye. You think this is about money? It's about control. You've been holding her with guilt and bank slips. It's time she had freedom. Freedom bought with stolen promises, I said. Emily's voice trembled. Grandpa, please. You're scaring me. I took a step back, heart thudding. For a second I saw Claire, her mother, in her face, scared of the same temper she never understood. I swallowed hard. Then I'll leave you both to your freedom. Ryan smiled, smug as ever. Good choice. Sleep this off. Tomorrow, you'll see reason. I walked to the door. Tomorrow, I said quietly, you'll see proof. Outside, the night smelled of rain and cold metal. I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles hurt. Somewhere behind me, laughter drifted from the porch. Soft, practiced, and cruel. The next morning, Albert's phone buzzes. An email from the bank. Notification of account closure. Kane Education Trust, balance transferred. By noon, I was standing in line at Community First Bank again, holding that email like a death notice. When it was my turn, Martha looked up from her desk, her face tight. "I'm sorry, Al," she whispered. "The Kane Education Trust account was closed this morning. The funds were transferred to a private investment firm, Miller and Associates Equity." I stared at her. "That's his company." She nodded once, lips pressed thin. "I know." The room felt smaller, the air heavy. "There's got to be some mistake." Martha hesitated, then lowered her voice. "Albert, off the record. You didn't sign those documents. I've known your handwriting 20 years. Something's wrong here." I opened my mouth, but she lifted her eyes to the manager's office, a man in a blue suit watching us through the glass. "Not here," she murmured. "Come back after hours." Outside, the sun hit my face, but I felt nothing. Across the street, 2 men I'd worked with on the old mill crew passed by. One of them clapped the other's shoulder and said loud enough for me to hear, "Poor old Al, spent his savings and now blames the kid." They both laughed. At the hardware store, the cashier, who'd always called me sir, handed me my receipt and said softly, "You take care, Mr. Kane. Heard you've been having trouble remembering things." That one stung more than the rest. That evening, I went to church like always. Emily and Ryan were already there, seated in the front pew. When I stepped inside, their shoulders stiffened. As the service ended, I caught sight of them shaking hands, smiling for everyone. A neighbor leaned toward me. "Glad to see your granddaughter's husband stepping up, Al. It's good someone's managing things for you." My chest burned. "He's not managing," I said, but my voice was swallowed by the organ's closing hymn. In the parking lot, Ryan passed me with a smirk. "Nice sermon, huh? About forgiveness?" I didn't answer. He slipped his keys into his pocket and added, "Try it sometime. Might make life easier." That night, I sat at my kitchen table with my ledgers spread wide. Page after page of careful pen lines. Years of saving, gone. The refrigerator hummed. The clock ticked. I felt smaller than I ever had. Then, near 9, the phone rang. Martha's voice was barely above a whisper. "Albert, I stayed late. I printed something you need to see. An internal transfer form. It's got your name on it, but the digital proxy shows a different sign-in. You'll want a copy before it disappears." I sat up straighter. "Can you bring it?" She paused. "Better if you come here. Back door. 10 o'clock. I hung up, heart pounding. Albert looks at the forged signature under the desk lamp. His name curved wrong, the stroke too wide. Beneath it glows a timestamp and digital ID he doesn't recognize. For the first time, he whispers, "Someone's rewriting me." That night, I drove home with Martha's printed form on the passenger seat. The paper still warm from her office copier. The timestamp read April 4th, 10:16 a.m., the same morning I'd been lying in a hospital bed getting my cataract stitches checked. There was no way in hell I'd signed anything that day. I laid the form beside my ledger and stared at it until my eyes burned. The signature looked almost perfect, but the weight of the pen was wrong, the curl on the K too flat. I'd spent a lifetime tracing pencil lines straight to the grain. I could see when something didn't belong. When I opened the fridge, there was nothing but cold leftovers and a half-empty jug of milk. I microwaved a plate, sat at the table and chewed in silence. The house felt hollow. the same home I'd built for Claire and raised Emily in, now filled with only the sound of an old man eating alone. Around midnight, I walked down to the mailbox. Inside was an envelope stamped legal notice. I tore it open under the porch light. Notice of financial guardianship hearing. Petition filed by Ryan Miller, citing concerns of diminished capacity. My hand trembled. They weren't satisfied stealing the fund. They wanted my name, my authority, my life. By morning, half the neighborhood would have heard. At 7 a.m., my phone rang again. It was Tom, a friend from the Carpenters Union. "Al, I'm sorry, man. Ryan came by the shop. Said you've been mixing up numbers, couldn't handle your accounts. He's talking about having you evaluated." I couldn't answer. I just hung up and set the phone face down. When I looked at the clock, the hands blurred. Every saving, every plan, every ounce of respect, gone in a month. I felt the years hit me all at once. Then the phone buzzed again. Martha's voice hushed. "Albert, I checked the hospital records. The system shows you were in surgery the same hour that document was signed. That's proof, Al, real proof." Her words broke through the fog. Proof. The one thing I'd lived my life by. I sat back, closed my eyes, and breathed. Maybe I wasn't powerless. Maybe I just needed to start measuring again. Carefully. I opened my ledger, flipped to a blank page, and wrote one word at the top in block letters. Reckoning. Albert picks up his old flip phone, scrolling to a forgotten name. Detective Cole. He hesitates, then presses call. A gravelly voice answers. "Didn't expect to hear from you, Kane. What did they take?" "Everything," I said into the phone. Detective Cole chuckled low. "Then you came to the right stubborn bastard." We hadn't spoken in almost a decade. He'd retired from the county fraud unit, the kind of man who carried his badge in a drawer but still thought like a cop. I told him everything. The forged proxy, the transfer, the guardianship petition. I could hear him tapping a pencil as I spoke. "Classic fiduciary trap," he said finally. "They paint you senile, take control, and bleed the account dry while you defend your sanity. You got proof?" "I've got a timestamp," I said. "And I've got a hospital report showing I was under anesthesia when they say I signed." "That's a start. You keep that form safe. The metadata on it might hang them." "I don't even own a computer, Cole." He laughed. "Good. Then they can't say you hacked it. I'll handle the tech side." For the first time in weeks, I felt something under my ribs. Not peace, but purpose. We met that afternoon at the diner off Route 6. Cole still wore the same scuffed leather jacket, smelled of coffee and old paper. He slid into the booth and flipped open a small notebook. "Here's what we do," he said. "You get me every document, originals, copies, hospital timestamps, anything signed. I'll cross-check it with state notary records. If that digital proxy came from Ryan's office, we'll find it." Martha stopped by our table, refilling the cups. Her hand brushed my shoulder. "I shouldn't say this," she whispered, "but the bank's audit refreshes every Monday. After that, the system wipes old access logs." Cole looked at me over his mug. "Then we've got 3 days to pull the trail before it disappears." When I got home that evening, I cleaned the sawdust off my workbench and laid out the evidence like tools. Hospital bill, bank statement, proxy printout, Martha's notes. I opened a fresh notebook and wrote across the first line. Step 1. Verify the signature. Step 2. Trace the digital ID. Step 3. Find the money. Old habits die hard. I underlined each step twice in red pencil. I looked up at Claire's photograph on the shelf. "They think I'm too old to fight," I said softly. "They forgot who taught them to count." The house creaked around me, the quiet kind of sound that happens before a storm. Then my phone buzzed, a message from Cole. Got a contact inside the audit department. We start tomorrow. Bring the papers. I closed the ledger and slipped the proxy form into a folder marked Proof. For the first time since this began, my hands didn't shake. Albert locks the folder in his truck glove box. Outside, thunder rumbles in the distance. He whispers to himself, "They started this on paper. I'll end it on paper." By dawn, I was back at the table with my coffee, flipping through the folder like a foreman checking blueprints. Everything had to fit. Everything had to hold. Cole arrived just after 7, dropped a flash drive on the counter and said, "All right, old man. We're building a paper wall so tight even Ryan's lawyers can't slip through it." He sketched 4 boxes on a legal pad. Step 1. Lockdown proof. Martha will grab the server logs from her branch before Monday's purge. Step 2. Build the trail. Full audit from the state pension office, line by line. Step 3. Find a living witness. Someone who saw Ryan handle the transfer. Step 4. Exposure, not whispers, not gossip. Public, legal, daylight. I repeated the steps in my head like I used to measure timber. Proof, trail, witness, exposure. Cole leaned back. "You follow that sequence, you win. Skip 1, you drown." I nodded. "I've built things that lasted 40 years. I can build this." He grinned. "Then let's start cutting." We drove to the bank's service entrance. Martha was waiting by the rear door, nervously clutching a stack of printouts. "Audit logs," she said. "I shouldn't have these, but after Monday, they'd be gone. The IP address that authorized your transfer, it's registered to Miller and Associates Law Group." Cole's jaw tightened. "Beautiful. That's a felony gift wrapped in company letterhead." Back home, I spread the printouts across my kitchen table. Each page showed the same pattern: access IDs, timestamps, digital trails, the proof I'd prayed for. I labeled a new binder tab, Phase 1, Logs, and slid them in carefully, like evidence at a trial. That night, I called the state pension board, claiming I needed a retirement summary for personal records. They promised to mail the full report within a week. Step 2 underway. Step 3 came from a name I hadn't thought of in years. Darla, an old clerk who used to process scholarship withdrawals. Cole tracked her down. She remembered Ryan coming in, all confidence and cologne, waving papers with my signature. She thought it odd I wasn't with him. "I'll testify if you need," she told me over the phone. When I hung up, the pieces finally lined up. Proof, trail, witness. All that was left was exposure. Cole called from his truck. "Ryan's hosting a charity gala next Friday. Fundraiser for his new education initiative. Press, investors, the whole deal. Perfect stage." I looked at the binder, the folder marked Proof, and the empty coffee mug beside it. "Then that's where the light goes on." "Exactly," Cole said. "You just keep those logs safe. After Monday, they'll try to bury you again." I opened the drawer, pulled out my old union stamp, and pressed it hard on the binder's cover. Case K001, College Fund Fraud. The red ink bled into the paper. I smiled. Looks official enough. At 5 a.m. Monday, Albert's phone buzzes. A text from Martha. "Meet me before work. I found something buried in the audit metadata. Bring the binder." By sunrise, fog hugged the parking lot behind Community First Bank. I parked near the dumpsters like Martha had asked, and stepped out with the binder under my arm. She emerged from the back door in her cardigan and flats, glancing around like someone being followed. "Come inside," she whispered. I didn't want cameras catching us. In the copy room, she handed me a flash drive. "These are the full internal logs," she said. "They show the proxy signature, the device ID, and the remote IP that executed the transfer." Cole plugged it into his laptop and his brows rose. This address traces back to Miller and Associates office server. Same timestamp as the so-called authorization. Physical proof, I said quietly. First one, Cole confirmed. Lock it up tight. Martha swallowed. Al, they'll notice this access by tomorrow. If they audit, I could lose my job. I reached across the table, squeezed her hand. You didn't steal a thing, Martha. You helped me keep the truth alive. When we left the building, Ryan's silver car turned the corner. He didn't see us, but I recognized the license plate before it disappeared down the street. My gut twisted. He was sniffing around already. Back at my house, Cole printed every log, stapled each page, and signed across the margins. Chain of custody, he muttered. Old habits. Then he set them in front of me. You need an official record. Mail copies to yourself and keep them sealed. Postmark makes it legal. I did exactly that. My hands didn't shake this time. We labeled the binder section Evidence #1, Server Logs and IP Trace. By late afternoon, the phone rang. Ryan. Al, he said, tone syrupy sweet. You've been talking to the bank. That's not healthy. All this stress could make a judge think you're unfit. I'm fine, I said. Better than you'll be when they open the audit. He laughed softly. You think anyone believes an old man with a notebook over a licensed attorney? I could make you disappear from the records with one call. I let the silence hang. Then I said, then I'll die with receipts, and hung up. That night, Cole came by with takeout and a printer cartridge. Next step's ready, he said. Pension board sent the full audit. Transfers matched the same LLC. Your daughter's fund drained to Miller and Associates equity, then split into 2 accounts. One for Ryan, one for Emily. My throat tightened. Emily too? Her signature's there. Maybe she didn't know, maybe she did. Either way, we nail Ryan first. He placed a copy of the audit in front of me. 5 transfers dated, authenticated. The numbers were cold, precise, undeniable. Physical evidence #1, Cole said. Now it's war. I looked out the window. Across the street, a car idled for a moment too long before driving off. I didn't need to see the plate to know who it was. Cole shuts the blinds. He's watching you, Al, but that means he's scared. He slides the second binder forward. Next stop, the gala. We show them the truth under the spotlight. The night of the Miller Education Gala arrived with drizzle and flashbulbs. The country club parking lot glittered with black cars and rented tuxedos. Ryan's face smiled from a banner out front, building a brighter future for tomorrow's students. I stood at the edge of the crowd in my only suit, the binder clutched under my arm. Inside, laughter rose like heat. Waiters floated past with champagne. I could smell money and lies. Cole brushed my sleeve. You ready? I nodded once. Let's flip the breaker. Ryan was at the podium, beaming under the lights. Emily sat at a front table, pale but smiling for the cameras. And thanks to innovative management, Ryan was saying, our education trust model proves that experience and youth can build prosperity hand in hand. I stepped forward. You forgot to mention theft. The microphone squealed. Heads turned. The room froze. Ryan blinked, smile twitching. Al, Grandpa folks, this is the man who inspired. Don't, I said. You stole from your own wife's dead mother. You forged my name and drained every cent of her promise. Whispers rippled, cameras clicked. Emily's eyes widened, color draining from her cheeks. I set the binder on the podium, opened to the first tab, and held up a page. This is the server log from Community First Bank. IP address matches your firm's network. Timestamp, April 4th, 10:16 a.m., the hour I was in surgery. You signed my name from your office. Ryan's voice wavered. That's ridiculous. Cole stepped up beside me, flashing his retired badge. Data verified by state audit, authenticated by chain of custody. Everything in this binder's certified. I pulled the second document. Audit from the pension board. Every dollar routed into Miller and Associates equity, then withdrawn to your joint personal account. Gasps filled the room. An investor near the front muttered, "That's embezzlement." Ryan tried to laugh. "He's confused. The poor man's been under stress." I slapped the audit on the podium, the sound echoing like a gunshot. Confused? I built this fund line by line for my granddaughter. You called me senile so you could steal what her mother left behind. Emily stood suddenly. "Ryan, is this true?" "Sit down," he hissed, voice cracking, while Cole nodded toward the reporter from the Chronicle, raising her camera. "You might want to smile, counselor." Ryan's face drained of color. "You think you can humiliate me?" he whispered. I leaned close, voice steady. "You did that yourself." Physical evidence #2. Cole turned the mic to the big screen where he'd cued the digital log. The crowd watched as the record flickered. Ryan's email address, his firm's IP, and the line, "Authorized by user R. Miller Admin." The silence afterward was thunderous. I closed the binder. "That's my proof. The rest's for the court." Ryan lunged forward, grabbing the mic. "You think this will save you? You're finished." Cole stepped between us. "He's done talking." Security moved in. Ryan shoved one of them, shouting, "You'll regret this, old man." But no one believed him anymore. As the guards escort Ryan out, Emily stares after him, tears streaking her makeup. She turns to Albert and whispers, "Grandpa, what did he do with the rest of the money?" The gala blew up online overnight. By dawn, half the county had watched the clip of Ryan Miller being escorted out of his own fundraiser. But by noon, he'd already struck back. A headline on a local blog read, "Elderly grandfather suffers breakdown, fabricates fraud claim against son-in-law." The article quoted a close family source saying I was mentally unstable and under medical review. My phone didn't stop ringing. Neighbors, old co-workers, even the pastor calling to check in. Each question felt like another nail sealing me into the story Ryan was writing. Cole came over carrying a brown envelope. "He's trying to poison the well," he said, dropping it on my table. But the state audit just came through, signed, sealed, official. Inside was a detailed printout from the Ohio Pension Regulatory Board, showing every withdrawal from the Kane Education Trust, each ending in a Miller and Associates account. The total loss, $120,000. To the penny. "That's enough to bury him," Cole said. "Not yet," I replied. "People believe what they see, not what's filed." He nodded. "Then we'll make them see. The DA's office is ready for a complaint. You, me, Martha, and the audit packet. Tomorrow morning." I leaned back in my chair, exhausted but steady. "He's not done," I said. "He'll come for Emily." Right on cue, my phone buzzed. Emily's name flashed on the screen. Cole gave a small nod. "Put it on speaker." Her voice was small, shaking. "Grandpa, Ryan says if you don't retract the accusations, he'll petition the court to declare you incompetent. He says he'll take your house to cover damages." "Emily," I said softly, "you saw those documents. You know who's lying." A sob broke through. "I don't know what to believe anymore." Cole whispered, "Keep her talking." "Did he make you sign anything?" I asked. Silence, then a quiet confession. "He said it was just a form to update the trust name. I didn't read it." Cole's eyes hardened. That's the joint account form. When the call ended, Cole exhaled. He's using her to launder the money. We catch that trail, it's over. That evening, we drove to Martha's house. She handed us another flash drive, this one encrypted. End of day archive, she said. It shows the secondary transfer from the Miller Equity Fund to an account ending in 3307. That's your granddaughter's. Cole scanned the file, grinning. Perfect. It ties him and Emily to the same fraud. She's a witness now, not a partner. I looked out the window. Across the street, Ryan's car idled again. His silhouette sat behind the wheel, face glowing from his phone screen. He wasn't hiding anymore. Cole pulled the curtain shut. He's rattled. That's good. I stared at the binder on the table, every page like a heartbeat. Tomorrow, I said, we don't talk to reporters. We walk into the DA's office. Cole nodded, slipping the flash drive into an evidence bag. And we light the fuse. As Cole leaves for the night, Albert's phone buzzes again. This time a voicemail. Ryan's voice hisses through the speaker. You've humiliated me once. Do it again, and I'll have you declared incompetent before sunrise. You'll die in a home while I spend your last check. 2 mornings after the voicemail, Detective Cole called me into the DA's office. The room smelled like paper and coffee and authority. A woman in a suit introduced herself as Assistant DA Ramirez. She didn't smile. She held a sealed envelope and slid it across the table like a verdict. Handwriting analysis, she said. State lab. We had samples from Mr. Kane's historical paperwork and the disputed authorization. The report's conclusive. I broke the seal with fingers that felt steadier than I expected. Conclusion: signature on the transfer authorization is inconsistent with verified samples from Albert Kane. Probability of forgery, 99.6%. I let the number sit in the air. It sounded final in a place full of final things. Cole grinned like a man who'd found a missing beam in a rotten floor. Ramirez tapped the table, then slid over another packet. That's the bank audit, she said. We subpoenaed Miller and Associates transaction logs. Follow the money. Transfers from the Kane Education Trust to Miller and Associates Equity. From there, 2 wire transfers. One to an account controlled by Ryan Miller, one to an account in Emily's name. The audit ties balances, dates, and withdrawal signatures in chronological order. I studied the spreadsheets. Columns of figures, account numbers, timestamps. 5 withdrawals totaling $120,000. My life laid out in debit and credit. No poetry, no excuses, just cold math. Ramirez looked at me. We've got probable cause to file criminal charges for fraud and elder financial exploitation. We'll also seek immediate restitution and injunctive relief to freeze the defendant's assets. My mouth made a sound that might have been a laugh or a sob. Finally, I said. Finally, the papers telling the truth. They wanted my statement. I told them what I'd told Cole. The ledger, the hospital record, the ledgers in my own hand, everything. They recorded it, stamped it, filed it. The wheels started to turn. Afterward, Cole and I drove to see Emily. She met us at her apartment, face pale, hands trembling. She hugged me like a child, and then pulled away and said something that broke me and fixed this whole rotten mess at once. He made me sign it, she whispered. He said it was to update the account name for tax reasons. He said we'd put it back. Her voice cracked. I didn't know. I thought he was helping. She put the paperwork on the table. There it was. A photocopy of a form with a printed signature line. And beneath it, a notation in small text. Authorized via digital proxy by R. Miller Admin. The proxy ID matched the server log Cole pulled from the bank. Emily's eyes were wet with the kind of shame that is forgiveness's cousin. Cole's jaw tightened. She can testify, but it's her cooperation that will cut this wide open. Ramirez nodded. With the handwriting report, the audit, the server logs, and a cooperating witness, this case is robust. We'll file today. Preliminary hearing set in 5 business days. I swallowed. 5 days. A calendar of small, heavy hours. I thought of Claire's photograph on my shelf, of every deposit I'd made for Emily, of the nights I wrote her name at the top of every page. Outside the DA's door, a reporter tried to shove a microphone in my face. I said nothing. I didn't have to. The evidence would speak loud enough. Cole slid a folded sheet across. "You ready, Al?" he asked. I looked at the binder of proofs, at Emily standing behind me, at the thin slice of light through the blinds. For the first time in weeks, I felt like a man who'd measured twice and been right. "Tomorrow," I said, "we walk into court and finish what they started." Back home that night, Albert finds a packet slipped under his door, an anonymous letter. 3 words stamped in red: "You'll lose everything." The courtroom was full by 9 a.m. reporters lined the back wall, cameras stacked like rifles. I sat at the plaintiff's table beside Cole and D.A. Ramirez, binder in front of me, the same one I'd built page by page like a house meant to last. Across the aisle sat Ryan Miller, hair slicked back, hands folded over a stack of notes he'd never get to use. Emily sat 2 rows behind him, eyes down. The judge entered, gray-robed and unimpressed. "This is the matter of State versus Ryan Miller, charges of fraud, forgery, and elder financial exploitation." He glanced at me. "Mr. Kane, you may proceed." I rose slowly, binder under one arm, and spoke the way I'd taught apprentices to measure: steady, deliberate, without waste. "Your Honor, my daughter's life insurance became a fund for my granddaughter. My signature on that account meant trust, not permission. This man took both." I handed the clerk Exhibit A, the forged authorization form. Ramirez spoke next. "Forensic analysis from the Ohio Bureau of Investigation. 99.6% probability of forgery." The judge nodded. Then came Exhibit B, the audit from Community First Bank, showing transfers from the Kane Education Trust to Miller and Associates Equity. "And Exhibit C," Ramirez said, "a digital proxy trace tying those transfers directly to Mr. Miller's office server." Ryan shifted in his seat, jaw tight. His attorney stood, voice slick. "My client acted under a misunderstanding. He believed Mr. Kane wished to restructure the trust for efficiency." Ramirez's tone could have cut glass. "Then perhaps counsel will explain this." She pressed play on a small recorder. Ryan's voice filled the room. "You think anyone believes an old man with a notebook? I could make you disappear from the records with one call." Murmurs rolled through the courtroom. The judge's eyebrows rose. "Is that your voice, Mr. Miller?" Ryan opened his mouth, then closed it. Ramirez turned to Emily. "Mrs. Miller, would you please stand?" Emily rose, shaking. "He told me it was just a tax form," she said. "I didn't know until Mr. Kane showed me the proof." That was it. The last nail in Ryan's coffin. The judge tapped his gavel. "The evidence is overwhelming. This court finds Ryan Miller guilty of forgery, fraud, and elder exploitation. Restitution in full plus penalties. The defendant is remanded into custody pending sentencing." The bailiff moved in. Ryan's mask cracked. "You old fool," he hissed as they cuffed him. "You'll die alone." I met his eyes. Maybe, but honest. The gavel came down again. hard enough to echo through the marble, case closed. As I stepped outside, the cold air hit my face like baptism. Reporters shouted my name, cameras flashed, but I just kept walking. Cole caught up beside me, hand on my shoulder. "You did it, Al. Built your proof from the ground up." I nodded. Measure twice, cut once. Behind us, the courthouse doors swung shut. For the first time in months, the story was over, and it ended on paper, not rumor. That night, Albert sat at his kitchen table, ledger open to a new page. In careful block letters, he wrote, "The fund is restored, the promise kept." Then he turned off the lamp and finally slept.